Have you ever wondered what goes on behind the table at a dance competition? Exactly what are the judges looking for anyway? This is Making the Impact, a dance competition podcast. Each week we'll cover a different topic related to the world of competitive dance from the perspective of the judges behind the table. Dance competition adjudicators are humans first, judges second, and our emotions sometimes come into play when we're behind the table at a competition. Today on Making the Impact, 2 veteran IDA judges join us to discuss how we remain as objective as possible when judging, while also trying to stay human and enjoy the art of dance.
Hey y'all, welcome to this week's episode of Making the Impact. I'm your host, Courtney Ortiz, and I'm here with my co-host, Lesley Mealor.
Hey Courtney, happy podcast day!
Happy podcast day and happy competition season. We're talking all about the judges this week on Making the Impact.
We are like really smack in the middle of it because I feel like there's a lot of events that go on until June, not to mention nationals. So we've got 2 excellent judges on today, 2 IDA judges to come alongside us to talk about how judges' emotions affect scoring.
Yeah, that is definitely a hot topic, I think, because there may be a lot of opinions that come into play with how a judge scores a dance or how a judge critiques a dance. So we're going to cover that on this week's episode and hopefully help inform the dancers, the teachers, the studios, the parents, a little bit more about what really goes into judging at a dance competition.
And this is a listener selected episode. So thank you to everyone who responded to our poll last month, just giving so many great suggestions about what you want to hear, about what topics you want covered. We are absolutely putting everything else in the brainstorming tab for the future seasons. But we were really excited to tackle this one. So I think it's going to be a great informative episode.
Me too. And before we head into our episode, we have some Making the Impact Award winners to share with you all. As you may have heard on our podcast, since we're in the heat of the season, Making the Impact and IDA sponsor an award at all IDA affiliated competitions called the Making the Impact Judges' Choice Award. And this award will be given to one dance at each IDA affiliated competition with at least one IDA judge on the panel. And it goes to that dance that the judges just cannot stop thinking about by the end of the weekend. Maybe they had amazing execution, beautiful technique, amazing storyline, awesome choreography, whatever it is, they want to recognize you. And this could go to a dance solo through production. And one of the perks, not only do you get an awesome Making the Impact plaque, but you get a shout out on a future podcast episode. So let's hear some of our recent Making the Impact Award winners.
From True Dance Challenges event in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Congrats to Dance Fusion Performing Arts Studio of Allentown, Pennsylvania for their small group, Breath of Life.
From Legend National Dance Competitions event in Long Island, New York. Congrats to Dance Workshop of Deer Park, New York for their duo trio, Call Me Mother.
And from Decca Dance Competitions event in Edison, New Jersey. Congrats to Step by Step Dance Studio from Millstone Township, New Jersey for their small group, Me.
Congrats to all of our recent Making the Impact Award winners. If you are a recipient of our award, don't forget to register your award by scanning the QR code on the back so you can hear your studio shout out on a future episode. And now let's hear from our sponsors. Coming to you from our Season 5 premiere sponsor, Francisco Gala Dance Works, I'm excited to introduce New Century Dance Project, a festival of performance and choreography. New Century Dance Project focuses on teaching the craft of choreography and why it's important for both choreographers and the dancer. Festival components include a choreography intensive for dancers ages 15 to 24, a choreography competition, concert performances, and community outreach events. The 7-day intensive starts every day with a technique class. After that, participants will head into classes and seminars that aid in the choreographic process, such as compositional techniques, improv, use of props, music selection, partnering, lighting and design, and so much more. What sets this intensive apart is the ability to hear and see various artistic voices throughout the week, allowing new choreographers to develop their unique style. The choreographic competition offers 3 age groups: high school, undergraduate, and emerging professional. The competition results in a Critics' Choice winner judged by a distinguished faculty, and a People's Choice winner voted by the audience for each age division. If you are an aspiring choreographer ages 15 or older looking to advance your composition knowledge and display your work in an artistic choreography competition, then look no further than New Century Dance Project, taking place this summer in Santa Fe, New Mexico from July 29th through August 4th, 2024. The deadline to submit your choreography for consideration is by March 1st, 2024. Use our exclusive podcast promo code Making the Impact in all caps when registering for the festival to receive $75 off. Learn more on their website at newcenturydanceproject.org. All right, Dance World, we're jumping into our next episode, and this week it's all about competitive dance and the judges at the competition. A lot of people have asked us, how do you remain unbiased when you are a judge? How do you stay completely neutral as a judge and not let your personal opinion and personal experience sway the judging panel or get in the way of how you're scoring a dance or letting the emotions of your personal emotions from that dance that you're witnessing affect your scoring? And that is definitely a tough conversation and also a tough job on the judges' end that I know I struggle with very often when I'm judging at dance competitions, and I'm sure every judge does as well. So we have 4, including myself and my fabulous co-host, Lesley, 4 voices, 4 experienced judges who are joining us today, who have been doing this for a very long time, y'all. So we can share all of our experiences from when we first started to now as adjudicators on this chat. And also a brand new guest to Making the Impact. The first brand new guest I'm excited to welcome today on the pod is an IDA judge, brand new this season. We're so thrilled to have her join the IDA roster. She is an experienced dance educator, and I'm getting to know her for the very first time here on the pod. I'm excited to welcome Rachel Roberts. Welcome, Rachel.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm so excited.
Yay. And we're thrilled to have you as a new judge with IDA. I know you've been judging for a long time, but just not with us yet.
Correct. That's correct.
Yay. Well, thank you for applying this season. Excited to get you out as a judge. And if first time on the pod, so if you wouldn't mind telling everybody more about you, where you're based, your dance training, and what you're currently working on.
That sounds great. Well, like most kids, started dancing at the age of 3. I grew up in Las Vegas. And so I had a lot of wonderful teachers from that area, obviously. I graduated from the Las Vegas Academy of the Arts, which is a performing arts high school there. I majored in dance, and I had a lot of classes in musical theater as well. Then I went on to Oklahoma City University, which I know you're familiar with, and had some great training and experience. I loved doing company choreography shows, all the things. I've been a dance instructor in the Tulsa area for about 20 years. I've been an adjudicator for about 12. And I love what I do. I love helping kids learn to dance. I love seeing those light bulbs click, whether that be in the studio, whether it's the convention room, or even from the judge's perspective. And I have a lot of choreography experience through studio work, but I've also worked on set as a choreographer for a lot of regional commercials. And then I've worked with a lot of local, state, and national level Miss America contestants. And so that's been a fun little aspect of my job as well. But I just love working with kids. I love seeing the next generation of dancers come up. And it's so different from when I was a kid competing till now. But I love to see that growth and that change in the industry for sure.
And Rachel, how long have you been judging?
It's been about 12 years. So just for various competitions.
Yes.
Good 12 years solid.
Wow.
It's been fun. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been fun.
I think all of us are probably around that over 10-year judging mark that are here today. So veteran judges on this chat. Awesome. Thanks so much, Rachel. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Our next special guest is one that you may have heard many times on previous episodes of Making the Impact. They are a spectacular educator, amazing choreographer teaching at Steps on Broadway. And they've been on the roster of IDA as a judge for many, many years. Their previous episodes include a recent Q&A with Courtney in December that launched for Platinum Premium, and our full podcast episode. Season 4, episode 140, Appropriateness of Choreography in Competitive Dance. Ooh, that was a hot one. Y'all need to listen. And Season 2, episode 52, The Importance of Musicality. Loved that one as well. I'm excited to welcome back the one, the only, Tommy Scrivens to the podcast. Welcome, Tommy.
Hey. Hi, it's so good to be back. I'm always excited to get on and chat and discuss these amazing topics.
So many topics, so many. And you have so much to give to our dance community with each topic that we tackle. So thank you for wanting to join us again on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. Quick
little reminder, since a lot of people will probably remember some of your previous episodes, but reminder of who's Tommy.
Tommy, I'm originally from Florida. I went to school at the Ohio State University, had a very, very diverse career in the business. Started out with Parsons Dance. I've been ever inspired. It's a contemporary company. I'm currently a legacy teacher with American Dance Machine, a protege with the Vernon Fosse Legacy, professor of in dance with the musical theater program at Marymount, teaching, choreographing, judging, you name it, I kind of do it. Still performing as well. Yeah, I am all over the place and I love it. And I don't see myself stopping anytime soon.
Oh, I love that. Yes. And every time you share what you've done, I'm like, you've done it all. You've really covered the map of the dance world from the New York City side of things. And I'm just so inspired by you, and keep doing what you're doing, Tommy.
Thank you.
Excited to have you. Let's jump into this one.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks again, y'all, for being here. I am excited to hear just, your various perspectives on this topic, because I think it's almost impossible. You can't say I am neutral all the time, because everyone's a human and we all have feelings and emotions and past experiences that inform how we do our jobs, right? But it is, something we all strive for, is to be able to place an objective view on the art that we're viewing and scoring. But it's hard. And so I think people need to understand, if something happens at a dance competition or you get a score in a certain way, there usually is a reason. And here we are to tell you some of these reasons about why we're human and what affects us. I guess we can start with, what type of dance affects you emotionally, like in a positive way. Let's start there. What do you just love to see that may actually, boost your score a little bit?
Well, I'll jump right in. I have no problem. For me, it is any time that a performer, a group or a solo, duet, whatever, anytime that the dancers are actually emotionally committed to what they're doing, it's something that always affects me. And oddly enough, I was just discussing that it tends to happen more often than not in the debut and intermediate levels, actually, because those students are usually there because they really love dance, and because they're just starting. They don't have this idea of what competition is. And those tend to really affect me emotionally, because they just have that passion, that raw energy that we all start with in dance before, things get so complicated. So that for me is
so
kind
true.
of like the part that really does affect me, because it's just so great to see somebody. And it's always just a good reminder of why I'm there. And it always grounds me a little bit more as well to see these dancers.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think those beginner and intermediate levels, you see the passion, you see that commitment from them, that and it reminds you again why you started to begin with, and that just the rawness of it, the joy in their faces when they're performing, and in their body language, even as they're walking on the stage. The best part is seeing when they complete that dance and they're happy with what they did, and they take that bow and they just walk off and they're so excited and so joyful. Sometimes you look into the wings and you see them running to the arms of their friends or their teachers. And it's just, that's just a special moment. That's like more than a competition. That's the joy of dance.
Right. Well, and that's my favorite award to give. And anytime I'm offered the opportunity to give a special award, I try to find one. And it's not usually hard, like you said, in those beginner levels, because those kids just love it. And you can tell. And I'm in total agreement with y'all. When I can see somebody that's just out there because they love to dance, great. It may not affect my score, but it's affecting me as Lesley Mealor, the person. And, like I said, that's my favorite award to give. So, and that actually means a lot more, because that, yay, your technique, but also you made my day. And that's, I think, more important than great technique.
I mean, it sometimes does affect my score, because sometimes I'll be watching dance, especially if we have broken down scores,
right?
And we can break it down from technique to performance.
Yep.
Like, I will acknowledge that your performance was amazing in your scoring. Yep. I will make that scene for the dancer and the teacher, because I felt something watching you. Like, that's what we want is and whatever that feeling is, like, I prefer it to be a happy, positive, feeling when I watch you dance. I don't want to feel like, I mean, of course we can share different emotions as we perform, but like, I want to know that you are enjoying this up there. I want to, regardless of what we're going for, acting choices and theme or whatever, I want to be able to tell that like you are excited to be on that stage, and it makes me excited to watch you. There's like a lot of dancers sometimes that come out on stage and I truly question if they want to be there.
Yes.
I in my head, I'm like, do you even want to do this right now? I don't even know.
Right.
I feel nothing from you, but the steps are nice and great job pointing your feet.
Right.
But give me something more. And then in those scenarios, like, we have to kind of explain in our critique why that performance score is lower. So, I do think it pending, like, if you made me feel something, I might be giving you a higher performance score.
Exactly.
And I try to take those moments too to remind the competitors that I'm a human being as well.
Right.
And I like those moments. And so in my critiques, I try to say, hey, I noticed this and it made me really happy. And so I hope that brings me off of this different kind of mindset for the competitors. I'm a human being too. I'm not this robot that feels nothing when you're dancing. And so I try to acknowledge that and tell them, do that more, because that's beautiful.
Yeah. And so on the other end of the spectrum, what kind of dances affect you in terms of making our job really challenging? Because I like that you brought up the broken down scores, Courtney, because when we have, now listen, there's pros and cons to one score and broken down scores. And
Yes, there are.
I see the pros and cons to all of these things. But when there is a broken down score, like you said, you can award good technique versus poor performance or poor execution or whatever in a very clear way. And so what happens when something is emotionally triggering to you or challenging for you, but the technique is really great? How do we talk about that? And how do we give that, that kind of routine its due? I know we went from like, we love dance to some questions.
Well, it's pretty simple for me. I try as much as I can to keep aesthetic out of my brain when I'm judging, because it's kind of tricky because everybody likes something that's a little bit different. And to be completely honest, I'm a person of color. I'm Black, and I'm also queer. So there are a lot of things that affect me because there's a lot of appropriation that happens, period. And it's always happening and it's always going to happen. And there's no way around it. So it's something that I've had to learn to just automatically look at the bare bones of what it is that I'm seeing. But for me, the only time that I have a really, really hard time with any of it is when the students on stage don't understand what they're doing, when I can see in their eyes that they're absolutely confused by what the theme is, or that they're dancing to something. And I'm like, you don't understand the history behind this because you would not be making those faces. You would not be doing those things. It hasn't been explained to you. Those are the only time that it actually affects me, because I just think that it's a huge disservice for the dancer. And most of the time it affects my score, but I also make sure that I also address the teacher or the choreographer directly and say, hey, listen, I understand what we're trying to do, but you need to explain this to your dancer. You need to make sure that they're understanding what they're doing. It's for me, it doesn't matter whether even if it's a happy dance.
Right.
And the kids are like, don't understand that it's something that it's about joy, and they're giving me faces that are angsty.
Right.
I'm like, they don't hear the lyrics. They're just trying to perform for you.
That exact scenario has happened to me before. And
so many times.
I don't have a good neutral face. Like, you're going to see what I think on my face as hard as I try not to. And it was like, did you just hear what she just said? Like, the lyric was, I'm in love and I'm so happy about it or whatever. And the kid is like crying. And I was like, what? And so it really can go both ways. And I think that's such a great thing to bring up, Tommy.
Yeah. And I feel to add on to what Tommy said too, the teacher needs to first and foremost understand and have that connection. So like that teacher can then explain it to the kids. But also I feel like sometimes choreographers, especially if they're just starting out, in the competition world try to almost take too much risk and go sometimes past the line just so they stand out.
Right.
Yes.
Because they fall into the sea of just dance after dance after dance. And so I understand the need to want to stand out. However, you have to do it in a way that is not, that you have to really think about your audience and think about who this can affect and what they're thinking about it as they're watching it, especially your judges. And so like I try to give them grace in that, yes, I see that you're trying to make something original or make something stand out. However, to the choreographer, these are my suggestions. And I try, like Tommy said, to address the choreographer because it's not necessarily the kids that chose this either. But I do feel like they have to have that connection in order to dance it well. I'm not the one dancing it. They are. And so if they can't connect with it and portray that character or that feeling, then maybe I need to choose a different style or a different topic to dance to.
It's important for the teachers to understand their students and know when they're ready for certain themes and certain types of movement and certain topics and certain songs. Like, is your dancer mature enough to handle this? Like, there are so many times where I know I'm like, you guys are just trying to push this boundary a little bit too much, where it's going over this dancer's head and they're great and they're amazing and none of this is their fault. And like, that's the hard part when it comes to scoring, because we're supposed to score based on what we are watching. But also like a lot of what we're watching is not the dancer's fault. So who gets penalized? We're not allowed to penalize the choreographer because there's no score. There's nothing on the score sheet anymore that even reflects the choreographer these days. Like oftentimes choreography has been eliminated from the score. But if it's a single number score, are we supposed to keep that in the back of our mind? And does that play into that single number? Like just the way it's gotten when it comes to scoring and how so many comps have like listened to their customers, because studios and teachers complain that we should only be judging what's presented from the dancers and what's in their control. But a lot of the things, like that's why we need to have these types of conversations, which very much goes hand in hand with the appropriateness of choreography conversation that Tommy was on before. Because like how do we do better? Like, how do we fix this as judges where our hands are sometimes tied, where we can use our voice and say, hey, teacher, this theme's going a little over their head. I'm not sure if they're emotionally ready for this, or I'm not sure if, they're giving the right performance that's needed for this. How can we fix that? Let's talk about it. But we don't even have time to do that. We just have to say it and move on to point your feet again,
Right. Well, and that's where Rachel's comment of like, we're not robots, we're human beings. Like if you would like a robot, if you would like AI to judge your dance, we can probably figure that out, but there's going to be no emotion tied to that. And so if all you want me to do is say, point your feet, stretch behind your knee, I can do that. But then we run into the problem of, okay, well, that's not enough. Well, then now we're back on the slippery slope of, well, you've affected me emotionally. Therefore, that's affecting me in how I score you and where I place that score. So it's just this ongoing conversation of like, this is hard. This job is hard. And we all do the best we can. There was a routine that I've judged recently that affected all of the judges negatively, emotionally. And it was a competition where you use one score. And like you said, Courtney, in that one score, how exactly do I get across that your technique was superb and the subject matter was inappropriate and it affected me so negatively that I couldn't speak anymore? And so we came up with the solution of creating a little broken down rubric kind of in all of our brains of here's this many points for technique, here's this many points. So we were able to take off points somewhere that reflected this was inappropriate, y'all went too far basically, but your technique was really good. So what ended up happening is the score was lower than it would have been had that not come into it. But I think that's at least a way that you can not get around it, because it's not getting around anything. It's trying to do it right,
Right. And fair to those that did have routines that were touching you in the right way. But also, I think if we do continue to explain our reasoning in our critiques, I think that helps. And if you do address the choreographer or address the teacher and say, this is for the teacher, this is how I feel, and this is why I did lower your score. I didn't want to take away from the technique, but this is one score and it has to factor in all of these areas. And that's why I scored the way I did. And I think that helps the teacher and choreographer. There's been many times where I've gotten scores that I don't understand and the judge doesn't explain that to me.
Right.
And so I think if we do that, it's easier for them to understand and become better as teachers. You know, that's why I take my kids to competition is I want them to become better dancers, but I also want the feedback so I can help them and be better as a teacher.
You would think, but not everybody wants that. It's funny.
I know.
It is very far and few between. Like there are a lot of studios that have specifically said it's not about me. It's about my dancers. Yes, that is true, but you're a part of that equation. You are the one training them. You're the one that's training them possibly improperly. If you were training them improperly, wouldn't you want to know? Like I would want to know.
I do.
Like, cause you know, as teachers, we watch our dancers and we kind of have like tunnel vision and like goggles on sometimes when we're watching our dancers over and over. And once you have someone else kind of put eyes on your dancers and kind of fine tune things, they might see things that is different than what you see, even when it comes to like technical training. You know, it's usually pretty consistent across the board when there's technical flaws. And then you just need like that one judge to be like, hey, I've watched every single dancer step up off the floor leading heel with their heel instead of their toe across the studio. That maybe that's something we can work on as a whole. Like a lot of times studios don't want to hear those types of critiques. They want it to just be presented to the dancer. But it's like, if this could just be presented as an overall studio thing, I don't think it's a bad thing. Don't be afraid of that type of feedback to the studios and the teachers, because it's just helpful. It's going to make you better next season. It's going to make you better overall.
Well, and if my score has to encompass the choreography, the technique, the performance in one score, then my critique should also encompass all of those things.
Right.
I just keep thinking of like, you know, what if it really was just everything's about the dancer? Well, then wouldn't it just be like a talent show? Like the kids were like, I choreographed this cool dance and that's it. Like the teacher's involved somewhere.
Yes.
Otherwise it's a talent show and like, good for y'all. That's fun. But you know, student choreography is a thing, but in this instance, really what we're talking about is somebody's in charge of these kids and they're doing what they're told. That's it.
It's totally true. And you know, in that case, who you're involved, you're their teacher, you're their support system. So it's a community. It's all right. Everyone's involved. Like I like to hear what the critiques are. I like to know what things are. I like to know what people are saying about my work and what they understand and what they don't get. I mean, you know, I feel like I always end up saying this, but like we all have to leave our ego out of it. It is about the kids. So that means you have to be involved in that as well. It's like parents are like, well, you know, my kid's at school. I know they're misbehaving, but you know, that's just my child. Leave me out of it. You're not left out of it. You're their parent. There's a connection between all of that. And sometimes you have to hear that there are things that you have to shift in order to parent/guide this dancer. There's no difference.
Attention all dancers. Looking for some outside expertise to fine-tune your dance before hitting the competition stage this season? Then check out IDA's online judges critiques. Our seasoned judges will provide you with a video critique of your routine, just like you'd receive at competition. But with IDA's online judges critiques, we take it one step further with our post-critique additional feedback. Your judge will go through your routine again, pausing the video to give you even more detailed and personalized feedback. You can even request a judge that specializes in your style of dance. This game-changing service has helped countless dancers prepare for the competitive stage and is available year-round. With critiques starting at only $35, what are you waiting for? Click the link in our show notes or visit our website at impactdanceadjudicators.com/online critiques to learn more and submit your dance today.
And even going back to that, the talk about the lyrics and having the wrong emotion when you're performing on stage, I think it's such an interesting discussion because we've all seen that. We've all seen that execute in different ways, like we described. But like, it's funny to me because as a teacher, as the counter in me, most dancers want to dance to the lyrics. So like, are they actually listening to those lyrics when they're dancing to them? Like, do they understand what that word means that they're dancing to? Because if they aren't counting and they are choosing to dance to the lyrics, then you should have an even deeper connection emotionally in your performance on how to portray that lyric throughout your dance. Like, are you mature enough to grasp that? I don't know. Is that being discussed in class? I don't know. But like junior and over, if you're dancing to lyrics, you should know what the lyric means. And that also goes back to the teacher. Is this going over their head? Are they dancing about heartbreak and a relationship when they're 8 years old? I don't know. Have they experienced that? We've talked about that many times where it seems innocent, but also, can they even relate to this? Or
and then we're, as a judge, I'm thinking that the whole time.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
So like, I don't know, that plays into what we do as well, is like, okay, you've presented something that on its face seems wrong or above somebody's comprehension level. And then so that is affecting how I'm scoring you, because I don't know that you quite understand that. So my brain is going a mile a minute trying to be like, well, could they have had a heartbreak at 8? Maybe their dog died. Are we applying it to the dog? Maybe it's their grandpa. I don't know. And then I'm also like, point your feet, stretch behind your knee. It's a lot.
Yeah. For me, I think a lot of times it seems as though when I watch these moments, when they happen in front of me, it becomes clear that the emphasis is about the virtuosity versus the actual song choice and the actual intent behind what it is, that they're trying to create dances that are highly competitive.
Virtuosity is the word, Tommy. That is so right.
They're not actually thinking about what the dancer's actually doing. And I think that's why a lot of times they're like, well, it's about the dancer. It's because the choreographer connects to that as like for themselves, but they're not thinking about what the actual meaning is behind it. And so they're just putting choreography to it, because you know that it's obvious when you have these moments that are highly impactful in the songs. And then all of a sudden something super technical comes up and it's like, wait, why are we turning here when this singer is screaming?
Or they're just doing a développé on the floor.
Yes.
And you're like,
so it's like, oh, you think that this is about the legs. It's not.
Right.
It's about the entire picture. It's a performance. And sometimes those things get disconnected. And I think that's why sometimes the choreographers want to disconnect themselves from it, or the teacher, because it's about creating something that is competitive versus creating something that is well-rounded for them to do. Because we forget that, like, at the end of the day, so many people can give legs, but it's about the artistry as well and what you can bring to that and the individual versus the actual tricks.
And I was just about to say something similar in that, like, I am not the one on stage. I keep trying to emphasize that, because when I started out doing choreography and taking kids to competition, I would find things that inspired me. But just because it inspires me doesn't mean it inspires those kids. And just because maybe I want to do a dance based on something that I experienced doesn't mean it's appropriate or it's on a level that they will understand as a student. And so you have to remember, like, who is doing this dance? Who is performing this dance? And are they going to feel the same way about it as you do as a choreographer? I sometimes think, like Tommy said, where the disconnect is, the choreographer might have this wonderful story, but if the dancer doesn't understand it and connect with it in some way, it's not going to come across in the right way. So they have to remember, I am not on stage dancing.
Yes.
These kids are on stage dancing. So I think that's where we need to take a step back sometimes and remember.
Well, and that's, who
is doing it.
Speaking of, I get, this is kind of, and I love this, it's turned into like everyone's emotions, not just the judges' emotions that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But so that's such a great point, because if you, the choreographer, have these big emotions, which we all do, and here's this experience that I've had that I'm going to turn into a dance for these kids who haven't had this experience, if they don't understand it, the execution in the performance is going to fall flat, which then influences me as the watcher, as the audience, or as the judge. Well, have you affected me in the way you thought you did? And then if I give you a score that reflects how you actually affected me, which was, okay, your technique was fine, but the story fell flat, it didn't really read, then you, because you're so connected to it, are going to feel pretty poorly, because your experience was this big, huge emotional thing that you think validates a good score, a higher score, because your emotions are so tied up into it. But it's like literally all full circle. Like, it starts here, but then it really does end here. And, if it doesn't get produced on dancers that can actually execute it, you're not going to get the results that you think you should. And then you're going to be upset about it. And you're really going to be upset at me, the judge, when really it comes back to you.
Well, and a lot of it gets distracting, like you said. But it gets distracting, like you said. Your mind starts to think about other things instead of thinking about what you're seeing on stage and judging it appropriately, like technique and things like that.
That's why my original statement was, if I can see in a dancer that they don't comprehend what they're doing, that's when I start taking the points off, because that's the only way that it could be. That's why I'm like, I have to take my aesthetic out of it. I have to take that, because if they even if it does offend me, as long as they are understanding what they're doing, I can't really take points off, because everybody has bias. Like, there's so many things that like make me emotional. I mean, hip hop dances make me emotional, because half the time I'm watching them, I'm like, this is not the roots of hip hop. What is this that we're doing? But it's a whole other thing. And so I can't let that affect me. So I have to look at how they're executing it and whether they fully are embodying what it is that they're doing. So if I don't see that they're doing that, that does end up on the dancer, and then the dancer pushes for their teacher to help them to understand it. They stop just letting it fly by. And that way, like, there becomes a relationship between the dancer, the choreographer, the teacher, where you start to actually think about what you're doing versus just letting whatever happen.
Yeah. And even what you said, Lesley, that whole speech about what you just said, I think that is really clear on the viewer, the audience, and the judges. It's really clear when this emotional dance that is very I can tell when it's more of a teacher or choreographer's choice to present this versus the dancers really want this type of dance. And most of the time, I rarely feel that this is like a genuine, I need to create this art to get my emotions out type of dance on the choreographers. And it always 98% of the time feels like it's intentional for shock value for a win. Like that's how it comes across to me as the viewer. It doesn't feel genuine often. Sometimes I've seen them, and usually the genuine ones aren't the in your face dances. Right. They're the very subtle, very like, they want you to think about it. They want you to not, that's how they want you to feel as a viewer. And that is art. But if you have to throw something in the face to make sure everyone understands, and it's too literal and it's too direct and it makes people uncomfortable for the wrong ways, that to me is saying you're just trying to get a shock value win. And that's not always going to work. And like, we've had a whole shock value episode, but like, I can read y'all real quick as a judge, as an experienced judge. I know exactly what you're doing. Yep. I've been here. I've done that. Yes. I don't like, it's different when you see the right kind of dance that makes you feel something emotionally that you can tell is very deep topic, and the dancers understand, like you said, Tommy, that's when it works. That's really the only time.
Those are my favorites, when I actually am a little unclear, but they know. Like, ooh, y'all know what you're talking about. I can think it's 15 different things, but you're so clear on it in your head. And that emotionally affects me in a positive way, because I'm thinking about that dance for 5 more days. Like, maybe it was about this. Oh, maybe it was about, it could have been about this. Like, those are great.
The judges are talking like on a break. Like, what about that dance? What did you think it was about? Like, that's what you want.
Yes.
You don't want to be like, oh my gosh, that one dance made me feel like I felt like a pit in my stomach, like I was going to throw up watching, because it made me so uncomfortable. Like, I felt that. There have been many times where I've had to like turn my head down and stop watching a dance because of what was going through my head and how uncomfortable it made me feel. And it is so hard. I'm telling you, if anyone is like, well, how you shouldn't be judging then, if that's how you feel. You shouldn't be judging. Our emotions.
Be our guest. Like, come do this.
Yeah.
If you're trying to say that, come on, do this. Yeah.
People have no idea what it is like to sit there. And because most people are watching, but they're not actually watching. There's a difference between but actually sitting and processing and actually like analyzing and
trying to block out everything else that's happening. And the cowbells and the screaming and the people's phones and the flashes that are coming from the people taking pictures.
Yes.
There's so much brain power and like focus that goes into what we do if we're trying to do it well, which I think a lot of us are.
Yes.
Right. And so I guess this is a really good segue into, I think all of us have been doing this a long time. And I remember back when I first started, the most triggering, I don't like the word triggering, but the most like emotionally affecting dances that I would see would be like a Schindler's List dance. So where I was used to kind of, okay, here's a Schindler's List dance. I'm prepared. I know what to expect. Okay. And now I feel like you see a whole lot of other things regularly, like you said, Courtney, that are kind of being shoved down our throat in terms of here's this really, really harsh subject matter that we're going to put on stage because we're trying to make a point. Does anybody have any sort of, this is mainly for the judges, like for the judges listening, like a pre-event ritual or some way that you walk into an event kind of mentally and emotionally preparing yourself for what you might see, because you don't know anymore. It's not just the one sad Schindler's List dance anymore. It's a lot that comes at us every weekend, and you literally don't know, because anybody can title a dance anything. And you look at a dance and it comes on stage and it's called, Flowers on the Street. And who knows what's coming? Who knows what's coming? You don't know. And that's a lot on your nervous system.
For me, when I'm judging, and if you've ever seen me judge, there's always music playing in between between the dances. I literally shake it off every single time. Yep. All I do is I'll wiggle, I'll dance, I will get back inside of my body. Mm-hmm. I'll take myself out of what I just saw, no matter what it is, because I don't want my emotions from that piece to affect the next piece. So I ground myself by dancing, by going back to what I love. And I'm like, all right, good beat. Here we go. And
welcome to the stage.
131, yes.
Yep.
And then once that's over, I start wiggling out again. And some people might think that's annoying, but that's the best way that I know how to to separate each piece from itself, because it's the only way that I can see what's in front of me in that moment. So that's one of the things that I like to do.
That's such a great point, Tommy, because I feel like that the filler music in between is crucial to like our experience and everyone's experience. I mean, filler music needs to exist in between dances no matter what. And there's a lot of comps that like keep it awkward and silent. Yeah. But when I hear like a bop come on in between, it just takes me into a different mindset of what I just watched. And like you said, be that buffer to lead in. And it lets me, all right, I'm going to punch in my score. I'm jamming. Like, I love that. But sometimes if it's like not a bop that I could care less about, I'm still stuck in that, like, wow, what did I just watch? So I think it's important for comps to make sure they have like some kind of fun bop in between that like people know and familiar with. It could be helpful.
Well, and that helps the next dancer, because if they have to follow a dance that just like emotionally affected the whole audience, like, and it was in a positive way, but just one of those dances, like you always have to, when that dance is over, it's done, you have to like move on. And that in between music helps me. It probably helps those next dancers. Like, okay, I'm done. I got to get over that. And now there's a brand new dance on stage. They deserve my 100% attention. And I should not be thinking about the dance that just went. So like to help them, I'm sure that helps everybody all the way across the board, that music for sure, I think. But I think that was a great point, Tommy. I loved that, because I kind of, when you started saying that, I was like, yeah, I kind of do like listen to that in between music. And that's when I'm like preparing myself for the next dance and trying to get that dance that I just saw out of my brain a little bit so I can focus. And I don't really have any other things that I do necessarily. I remember one time this was maybe my second year judging, and I was very new and fresh and not, I didn't have all this experience of how to do that and how to prepare myself. And so I didn't really pay much attention. And all of a sudden there's a prop on stage, a picture, a man in a uniform on a stool. And I look up and I thought, oh no, my husband actually was deployed at the time. And so this dance particularly was about a girl who lost her father in the service. And I didn't know what to do. And so I tried my best to focus on the technique and separate a little bit, separate myself from the storyline. It was about her and her life. You could tell that it was not the teacher's life. And it was very well emotionally executed. And at one point during the dance, I just said, you know what? I can't I don't want to give you a lot of technical correction. I just want to see you enjoy this moment and this dance that you're doing as a tribute. And sometimes I feel like as judges, that's okay to do. If it's that sort of dance, you do your best to give them technical, advice. But sometimes it's more than that. And it's not even about that anymore. It's just her getting her emotions out, like it was said earlier, to kind of work through this. And I found out afterward that, her father had passed. And, cause at the end of the dance, she picks up a note that basically says what happened, and she tears it up, and just the passion that came out of her at that moment, like you just stop judging at that point, right, and you just sit and absorb. And so I've learned a lot from that experience on like trying to focus when something emotionally gets me, trying to focus more, like look solely at technique, and try to focus on that, because they do pay to be there and they do pay for our adjudication. And so I want to give that to them, but sometimes it just goes way past that and you can't emotionally. And so, luckily that was toward the end of a session. There was only one or two more left, but it took a lot for me to focus on those last few because of the way I was emotionally affected. And it was a good way. It wasn't a distracting way. And so I'll never forget that. And I learned a lot from that experience, but it's hard to work through sometimes stuff like that. And so that in between music does help you shake off and refocus, I think, a lot. And so that's something, Tommy, I'm actually going to take with me now too. So thank you for that.
Do a little jig in between.
I feel like I've definitely been there, and it's tough. It's really tough. I specifically remember an event. I was doing live feedback. I think it was Diva Dance Competition, IDA Comp, and we do live feedback on the God mic immediately after, kind of like American Idol style for anybody that's listening that's unfamiliar. We're not doing a regular critique during the dance, so it's kind of nice that we can just take it in and watch and just take notes and things. But like, I remember a dance, and it was a fine dance. They weren't giving it like 100% emotion. Like they weren't truly connected to it, but like the theme was a death of some sort and going to heaven. And it got me because the week before my grandfather passed away. And it's like, I mean, of course, no one can know that about your judges. You're not like following their life, but like that hit me so hard where halfway through, my brain wasn't even in the dance. And I felt horrible because I want to do my job, but it prevented me from doing my job because of my personal experiences in life at that time in my life. And I was sitting there crying, couldn't even get the words to give my live critique. Luckily, I was like, can someone else take this one? I just can't. And I asked for a beat after, like I couldn't go right back to my job. And I think that's important for people to understand, like when these emotional dances are coming to stage and like your goal, the dancers are affected, the teacher is affected. Are you hoping your audience isn't affected? Because most likely they will be. Regardless if it's done well or not, that song might be a song that they connect to in a way that they have a history with. Like, you just never know what's going to impact. And like, yes, that's why our job is so hard. Like sitting here, all of us talking right now, we need to get paid so much more. We need to have like therapy on Mondays post competition.
Therapy.
Like,
they need to have
sleep deprivation. Like we have, like, it's just so many things that we're expected on our job to be like.
Yeah, I think we need therapy dogs at each competition.
Yes. Speaking of therapy, like if you're a listener to the podcast, you know I've been in therapy for years. I finished this year with my therapist of 9 years, who, interestingly enough, has a daughter who, when I started in therapy, was just like 2. She was little. She wasn't dancing. And over the years, she has blossomed into a lovely dancer, goes to a really competitive studio. But my therapist, she knew what I did for a living, and she kind of understood before her daughter was a competitive dancer. So I would tell her, I'd come back. My therapy was always on Wednesdays. So I would have a couple days to decompress. And then I'd come in and, that was sometimes part of our conversation. And then she went to a dance competition, and we came back the next week, and she was like, Lesley, you've explained it to me, but I had no idea. Like the sensory overload, the things you have to watch, the fact that you can't go to the bathroom, like all these things. And she was like, I understand now. And I'm like, yeah, people just don't get it unless you are in there and you understand. And so, yeah, I think everybody needs therapy, even if not just for dance competition season. Like,
yes,
it's a lot.
And
It truly is.
What I did do too on that critique, and I did tell the dancer what was going through my mind. Like I told her, you know, I appreciate the fact that you're very connected to this. It is affecting me because my husband's in the service. And so I apologize if I'm not as talkative. And, you know, so I think and I feel like she was doing it for more than just a dance competition. And so you can tell when they're really doing it for more than that.
And don't be surprised, listeners. You know, if you've ever had me for a judge, there's many, many critiques that I've done the same thing. I'm sorry I'm not talking, and my voice is breaking. I'm sorry I'm not talking very much right now, but this is such a beautiful execution of this story, and I'm just going to listen. Or, sorry I'm crying through your entire critique. You know, these things happen, and it's the goal. And it is the goal. Like when you've made me cry in a good way.
And there's value in that as well. There's nothing wrong with not getting critiques. There is sometimes you need to know that you are affecting somebody in a way that is so great that all you want to do is watch them. There's value in that. That's for you to take that moment in and realize that you have power to dig into whatever it is that you felt in that moment, to try and find that, not make it exactly the same, but just to try and find that and try and find that throughout more things. It's good to know that a critique doesn't necessarily mean something negative. That's the thing, like that there's value to all of that information. And I think that sometimes people forget that. And it's a really, really good thing to want to just be watched, because ultimately, I always say whenever I give that critique, I'm like, when I go see a Broadway show, I'm not sitting there going, well, are you pointing your toes? Are you doing this? When I go to a concert, I'm not saying that. I'm sitting, I'm watching, I'm enjoying. You should be at a place where I'm not thinking about any of your technique. I'm experiencing whatever it is that you're trying to do. You don't go to a museum and critique the paintings. You experience what's there. And so that's the ultimate goal. And you need to know when you're there, because that's a blessing. That's when you've arrived.
I've said
and
that
a lot of
many
times that means so much more than technique.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've literally said that as a judge. I'm like, I'm sorry if I'm not saying anything right now. I am loving everything that's happening. There are some technical things I could be critiquing, but I'm really enjoying taking this experience in right now. And I just want to let you know, like, I'll just chime in, and because they're going to be like, well, why is my technique score lower? Well, I'm not even like, I can see there's things, but that doesn't even matter to me right now. Like, I'm just loving what is happening, and that should be okay. And don't be upset when you have a few points off on your technical score, because I told you there were some things and you should know what they are. You know what they are. Like,
exactly.
You know.
Don't act like you didn't know. When you look at the when you look at the video, you're going to know that you were off. You weren't on your leg. And please, I can tell by the way you're dancing, you know the difference.
Yep.
Right. Because like, I feel like oftentimes as judges, we're here to just like reiterate for the dancers.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of times where I'm not sure if some things I say have even been mentioned to the dancers, you know, and that's a fine line of learning that throughout the weekend as we see the studios come back in. And it's like, all right, so what can I really give them that's going to help them versus just spitting out the same critiques that your teacher says? And like every studio is different. Some studios are like, please keep saying that, because I've said it to my dancers a million times. And if they hear it from the judge, they'll do it. That's great. But also, like, I want to know that that's being told. I want to know that we're focusing on that in class. And that way I can offer more than just the same corrections that your teacher's already giving you. I think that's like the other point too, as a judge, is to be that second set of eyes to dig a little bit deeper, because the stretch your legs, point your feet, watch your timing. Like, those are generic critiques that like the teacher should have already fixed. So if you hear that 24/7, like, I can't even go further because that's not fixed. So
exactly.
It's a fine line as a judge to kind of approach it in the right way and get the point across for the dancers, but also not feel like a broken record, because how many times does the same studio come out and we see the same technical flaws? And it's like, is that what you want us to talk about the whole time? Or can I talk about other things too? Because there's a lot of other things I can talk about.
Right.
It's very tricky. And that's what affects me emotionally.
Yes, me too.
More than anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I see something happening so often that I'm just like, there's this thing that you all don't see. And I'm seeing it over and over again. And it starts to affect me because I want them to really understand it. And then I start getting, you can even tell now that I'm starting to get emotional about talking about it, because I want them to know. It's just this one thing. If you would just focus on that, shift that, please shift that. Oh my gosh, shift that.
Yep.
Because I'm seeing it and saying it so much that it's
hard.
Or another thing that emotionally affects me or distracts me even is sometimes when, competitors come out with 3 solos, a lyrical, an open, and a contemporary, and they're all basically the same. And I keep saying the same things over and over. I know you haven't heard my critiques yet, but I start to get angry. Like, I'm saying these same things. I'm tired. I'm tired of saying the same thing. They're seeing you do the same things. Show me some other things, show me, I don't know. That starts to get distracting too. 100%. And emotionally wears on you because you're just like,
Our Season 5 premier sponsor, Francisco Gala Danceworks, is thrilled to introduce New Century Dance Project, a performance festival for the aspiring choreographers. Throughout this 7-day intensive, you will learn the craft of choreography from the perspective of not only the choreographer, but also for the dancers. New Century Dance Project hosts many components during their event, such as a choreography intensive, a prestigious choreography competition, concert performances, and community outreach events. The intensive starts each day with a technique class, followed by classes and seminars that will help you hone your choreographic skills, like compositional techniques, improv, music selection, lighting design, and so much more. Submit your work into the New Century Dance Project choreography competition, which offers 3 different age groups: high school, undergraduate, and emerging professional. The competition results in a Critics' Choice winner and a People's Choice winner for each age division. If you're an aspiring choreographer 15 years or older and looking to advance your composition game, then head to the New Century Dance Project, happening this summer in Santa Fe, New Mexico, from July 29th through August 4th, 2024. And don't forget, if you want to save $75, use our exclusive podcast promo code, Making the Impact, in all caps, when registering for the festival. Learn more on their website and register now at newcenturydanceproject.org.
Well, and that anger is not angry at the technique that's happening.
Correct.
We have to also just clarify that, because there's so many things. It does happen. The problem is that you're doing the same thing over and over again. Why are you doing 3 of the same thing?
Right.
It does not benefit you to do 3 of the same thing. And so that's why it's emotionally jarring. It's like, no, do a jazz solo or do something else. Don't do the same solo over and over again and then do the same things over. It doesn't benefit you as a dancer to do the same thing over and over again.
Especially when you're practicing.
For me, it affects me emotionally.
When you're practicing incorrect technique while doing the same thing over again. You know, that's the frustrating part for us, because it's like, man, I was really hoping you were going to give me something different. Nope, you're still going to do that same turn sequence with that low releve and that low passe. And I have to say it again because you're not going to understand my technique score. And I don't know when that's the thing that I always tell people is like, we're there all weekend. We get to know your studio all weekend. The goal is to critique each thing individually, score each thing individually. But like we as judges have just expressed, it's hard for us to be in the same mindset about your studio on day 1 as we are on day 3. It is very,
or
very
solo
hard.
1 and solo 3 when they look exactly the same.
Thank you.
Exactly. It's so hard to not let our emotions get in the way. And I don't want to. I really, really don't want to. I'm trying so hard, but I'm telling you, until you've done it, it is very hard to do. Yeah. And I always tell people
and then do it 12 weekends in a row.
Right. Right. I'm like, maybe try listening to the critiques in order. I know that's impossible, but you'll hear different tones, because sometimes they'll be like, oh, I already, go back to that jazz dance. I mentioned that exact same thing, because I don't want to waste my time repeating it again.
Exactly.
It's such a fine line.
It really is. It's very tricky, and it's really hard. And it's something that we are literally navigating live in the moment, trying to figure out the best way to say this to you without sounding angry, because we're not angry. All we want is for you to be at your best. And it's frustrating, especially when you see it, not just one student that does that, but then there's 4 or 5 that are doing the same pattern over and over again. And it's just not helpful.
Right.
Yep.
And even if it's good, like there's a student that I've watched for years and years, and she is lovely.
Yes.
She's lovely. Every single solo I have ever seen contains the exact same formula of things, and it's all lovely, but it's literally the same. And there's nothing else I can say. That was a beautiful tumbling pass. That was a beautiful turn sequence. And that is all I can, because it's just nothing new. And that is a critique, you know,
and like that's on the teacher's end at that point. It's not the dancer's fault, but then we can't, but then it's like, okay, teacher, I'd like to challenge you to like and I've actually done that before, and I've gotten in trouble saying that on a non-teacher critique. Because there was a dancer that was so good, and I was like, she is ready for more. Like I love this dancer. I love watching her. We're playing it too safe for her. I didn't say it like that, but that's what's going on in my head. So then I was like, I want to help them. Like maybe that'll inspire them to try something different next season when I see them. And I want to tell this dancer, like, I believe in you and I think you're ready for more. That's a compliment. That is not a negative. But the teacher took offense to it because I said it was, you know, and what I thought that was the nice thing to say. Like the dancer was scoring first place overall. It wasn't like I docked points. I was just saying, like, let's take some more risks. Let's challenge this dancer even more because they're ready. And I don't say that to everyone. I rarely say that to anyone. But it's because I kind of seen them a bunch, and, you know, I've seen their progress as a senior.
In those instances, exactly whenever those things happen, I always go back to what's happening. I was like, what's the music? Okay, you're doing the same dance, but the music's not the same. Mm-hmm. So how can you take the same steps and change them?
Yep.
And now I know that you're just dancing. Mm-hmm. You're going back to virtuosity. You're not actually doing it, because I could turn this song off and I would not know it's the song. So we have to go back to what it is that you're bringing to it.
Yep.
So, you know, that's why, like I said, that's the one thing that I try and focus on, because it kind of like encapsulates all of the things. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like you did that same solo, but it shouldn't be the same because the song's different.
Yep.
And you know it shouldn't be the same. So are you doing that? So yes, I'm going to take points off now.
Right.
And I have receipts for that, because I know you're not listening to the song.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And some people have asked, like, when it comes to the multiple solo thing, and we've touched on this slightly in other episodes, and I don't know, I'd love to hear y'all's perspective, but like, is your score the same for all three? If the solos are similar, does the score get lower the more times they come out? Like, how does that does it affect your scoring?
I think subconsciously it affects my scoring, because each time they come out, I find more and more things that I can deduct for. Right. It's not like just one time they're out and I'm analyzing their technique or their performance or things like that. But then the second time, I know what I said the first time. So let me look further into, and I know what to look for from the first time. And so like it almost goes down the more times you come out, unless you blow me away with a completely different style and a completely different dance, then it's a little different. But if you're doing the similar solos, I almost find more to take off for because I've seen you already.
Yeah. I mean, it's same for me. Unless you are able to shift something, then I've seen it. And then it becomes, I start to analyze it more. If I'm not in it as much as I can be, if I'm drawn into looking at the same thing over and over again, naturally, it's impossible not to see something more than once and not to dig in deeper. That is impossible. Right. So the score has to shift up or down based off of what happens. Like, it's impossible not to do that.
Yeah, sometimes mine just lives.
And I would much rather see a dancer do less dances and do them like to the best of their ability than spread themselves thin. And that goes for groups too. There's a lot of times where there's groups that you're just interchanging one or two dancers, but basically doing the same thing. And again, I'm like, I just saw this like 4 or 5 dances ago. You're doing the same, genre with almost the same dances, same dancers. Maybe you went from a large group to a small group, but it's the same. And it's a similar choreography. It's similar type of feel to the dance. And so I'd much rather take those out and just focus and do something really, really great than spread yourself too thin and experience different genres. Even if it's not your best genre, do it anyways, because that's how you're going to get better. And so like emotionally, I'm thinking, gosh, this is I hate to say it, but sometimes I just get bored with the same things over and over with the same dancers. So then I'm thinking, okay, let's pick it apart more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd much rather you do two completely different dances and like experience that and work on that to get better at different areas you're not good at.
And like do different styles within the styles. Like if you have to have a large group contemporary and you have to have a small group contemporary with more select dancers, then challenge them in different styles of contemporary if you're going to do that. Like we don't need cookie cutter, duplicate, robot formula dances. Like there's lots of styles within the styles that we can be challenging our dancers instead of, and like even that's a challenge to the choreographer too. Like, yes, as choreographers, we have our own distinct style, but what can you do to change it up? What can you do to not have it be another gestural contemporary dance? Because that's your signature. That's great. Maybe we need to collab with another teacher and like change it up and get some more to make it different for the experience for the dancers. Because if it's about the dancers, then it shouldn't be about you. It should be about the dancers. And if that's what we're over here talking about, we have to score for the dancers. We have to, it's all about them. Then make it about them. Like we've mentioned that many times. It's not about,
ding, 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 Courtney.
This is my choreography.
Ding, 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 ding.
It's hard. I don't
Ego.
know. Yes.
Yeah.
Get it out.
Yes.
Agreed.
I could talk about this all day.
No, so good.
It's true. I love it.
I do have one final question. So I feel like that, and I feel this very often, and especially lately, because I've been judging some amazing talent lately. First place, second place, third place. Oftentimes, a lot of people, we always hear a lot of people say, it's just the judges' opinions, 3 different judges, 3 different outcomes, that type of speech that we hear all the time. Do you feel like that's true? Do you feel like that if it was a different panel, the first, second, third could be different? Do you think
within
that
the same 3 people, probably?
Yeah, within the same 3 people.
I don't think you're pulling 6th place into 2nd place with a different panel of judges. I would hope. I don't know. It depends on who your judges are.
Yeah,
it could, because it depends on if it's like also musical theater judges versus like more contemporary based judges versus more like competition based judges.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people's personal aesthetics do get involved in judging. And, I've been judging for long. I know that it's something that I've had to get out of. Mm-hmm. It takes a while to actually do that. It's not something that just happens overnight. But, it's really hard to see things for what they are. And it's a different thing at all different competitions because there's also different groups of people there. Like there's different ways that it can turn into something else. Some competitions are like really technical dancers. Some competitions are dancers that have really great performers. So you just never know what you're going to get. It's really hard to figure that out or to know. Especially
within genres too. Mm-hmm. Recently I was judging a competition and they have a dance off at the end where the top scoring groups recompete against each other. And you have to, instead of giving them scoring, you have to basically rank them. Each judge ranks them the way they want to finish, basically. And it's truly like comparing apples to oranges at that point, because all 3 could have been first place. They were all so amazing in their own ways, but it's like you have a full-blown jazz production versus a small group lyrical that was so well executed. And then you have like a musical theater, and each of them, like I said, were just amazing in their own ways. And so it's hard at that point to then say, okay, who deserves first place? Right. Because they all did.
Right.
They all truly did. And again, they were all genres, all sizes. And what you feel from a jazz production, that energy level and the screaming and the height versus the emotion from that lyrical and how it was just so stunning versus just a fun, just well choreographed, 100% in musical theater. At that point, you kind of just have to go with your gut and say, which did you just like the best? And instead of boiling it down to different types of technical execution and things, it's just, and so then it goes back to your point. Yeah. If you had 3 different judges, it might have been a completely different outcome because each judge had to just decide which they liked better, and everyone has their own preference. So it was hard to choose, and you feel bad because you do want second and third place to know, like, you guys were incredible, but you're forced to choose. That's your job. And you just have to go with your gut.
For me, in those situations, I've always told my students, we've never focused on first, second, or third ever for that exact reason. We've always focused on how we affect people and what it brings out and how we feel with what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, there's like sometimes where we win, there's times where we don't, there's times where the choreography's picked, there's times where it's like people completely don't get it. But when their parents are like, oh my God, I love watching that dance, it's so good. That's the point at the end of the day, like, because it's just somebody's opinion. It's about how you affect people. And if you're in the level of being first, second, and third, and you're worried about whether you're getting first, you're worried about the wrong thing.
Exactly.
The fact that you are able to produce something that is to be up there is what it is. Like, somebody's going to win the award. You have to remember, you're actually in the fight. That's the good part. The fact that you're actually affecting people, you're in the fight. That's all that matters. It is a toss-up. It is opinions, and it's different people like different things, and that's what's so great. But the fact that you're in the arena and that you're doing it is what's really great. That's all that matters.
Such a great point.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there have been many times where, like, with first, second, third, when the talent is amazing and it's like tenths of points that is really separating these top 5 or top 3 dancers. As the judge, I'm like, I wonder who's gonna get it. Like, I don't even know, because I know who I want, but I don't know who the other judges want. So I don't know where the chips are gonna fall and how the score is going to overall lay. And it truly is, like, when it's that cutthroat, like 2 tenths of points, it is a preference thing. I think it's like, well, maybe maybe this person liked that jazz choreography better, or maybe this person loved that performance quality better, or maybe this judge liked the way that this dancer's execution was and the extensions were strong. Like, whatever it is, each judge can probably say what they liked about why they gave it a first overall dance, but the 3 judges might not be on the same page, and that's when the score just kind of lets it determine it. Because,
like, at my old age of judging for as long as I have, like, I used to be somebody who would, like, fight tooth and nail for something that if there was ever a choice, or if there was ever a collaboration where we all had to decide, like, I'm fighting for. I'm not anymore, because the score, it is what it is that day. Y'all are all great. Go forward. Like, I can't. It's not that serious, first of all, because this is a dance competition. It's not life. It's not the way things actually operate in the real world. And so I have allowed myself that peace to step back, because as a judge, sometimes it's not that peaceful. If you have a lot of opinionated people on your panel and you're just fighting constantly, but all the fights are valid. And that's also the problem, is that, like, I can be fighting with Tommy about, like, I think this aesthetic is better than that one, but yours is really good too. But I feel so strongly, like, I can't fight with you about that. You're also right. We're both right.
Exactly.
But I think the best part about what we're talking about right now is that we're literally we're talking about fighting tooth and nail at the end about these pieces. We didn't say it was about how many pirouettes they were doing. We're talking about the feeling, the aesthetic. So I think it's important that, like, we just make the point that it's so important that you really work with your dancers about what it is that they're accomplishing, and making sure that they're actually accomplishing the task at hand, because that's what it comes down to at the end.
Yeah.
Because that's literally all we're talking about.
Well, and like I said earlier, like, if you would like AI to judge your dance and say, this was a great execution of your 15 pirouettes. Okay, but they're not going to be able to say this moved me in a way that is going to affect me for the rest of the week. And that's what we can do as humans. So I don't know if anybody was out there trying to get AI to judge their dance, but don't, because it's not going to work.
Well, and there's, over the past 12 years, there's probably a couple handfuls of dances that I will remember forever. And I consistently refer back to them, just like the one I experienced one of my first years of judging that I told you about. Or there's some that just touch me in such a way that I'm just like, wow, like, that's more than a dance competition. That's that's more life experiences that they're bringing to the stage that have affected me. And that's when I, can sit in peace at the judging table and just absorb. And I say that on my critique, like we talked about earlier, and it's just a peaceful feeling at that moment. So that's when the distractions all go away and you're just in the moment with them.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode all about how emotions affect scoring for judges at competitions. Be sure to follow our IDA judges on social media. You can find Tommy at TommyToes7 and Rachel at Rachel Benke.
Don't forget to follow Making the Impact on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you want more exclusive episodes, support our podcast by joining our Platinum Premium membership for only $5 a month. Subscribers receive free Making the Impact stickers, shout-outs live on the air, ad-free listening, and exclusive access to our Q&A episodes for members only. Join now at impactdanceadjudicators.com/platinum premium or click the link in our show notes.
Ready to take your competition dance to the next level? Looking for a fresh set of eyes to critique your solo? Then say hello to IDA's online judges critiques. Simply send us a video of your dance, whether it's from an in-studio rehearsal or an on-stage performance, and our judges will take it from there. You'll receive a standard video critique just like you get at competition, but we take it one step further with our best-selling feature, 10 to 15 minutes of post-critique additional feedback. Your judge can now go back through your dance to elaborate and explain their corrections in further detail, and even pause the video to show you exactly what they are referencing throughout their critique. Parents, dancers, choreographers, and studios are loving this personalized and professional service for our dance world. We even offer genre-specific judge requests, 24-hour rush delivery, and bulk order discounts for studios submitting 5 or more dances. Prices start at only $35 per critique and are available year-round. Visit our website to learn more and submit your dance now at impactdanceadjudicators.com/online critiques. Get ready to wow the judges at your next competition after using IDA's online judges critiques. We can't wait to see your dance.
Coming up next in Season 5 of Making the Impact, stay tuned for tips on changing studios, an episode all about ballet, and transitioning from competitive dancer to professional dancer.
Thanks for listening to Making the Impact. We'll see you next week. Until then, keep dancing.